Well, I've read your discussion responses from yesterday, and so as you gear up to the third essay, I kind of wanted to see how you were doing on that very tricky thing, the discussions from last night, and then follow up with a brief video on the essay. So as you know, it's going to utilize what we've learned, and it's a three-part essay. And I want to remind you, be sure to rethink what you've learned in the previous essays. Don't try to cut and paste, as the earlier narratives won't fit the arc of this essay. Let me explain it to you. I've actually changed the order, having talked with one of your colleagues today for a bit, and I think this will make more sense. But it's the same three talking points we're looking at. So the first one is the money in this disinformation campaign. Just how much deep money there is. Some of that you have from Merchants of Doubt, chapter 6, a long time ago. God, 6 weeks, huh? But some of it you have from, I believe it was last week when we looked at the money in politics. So you've got a lot of sources. And so that's the logic as you talk about how, over the past, let's say, 40 years, millions of dollars have been spent as a part of a massive disinformation campaign to cause people to have doubts about climate change. And that's just one way of saying it. And part two is what this money does. And this money goes to fund messengers. Frank Luntz would be one, but another good example would be message makers like the Heritage Foundation. And then go into just how much time and effort they put into that message. And then the third part, so you can talk about the tone, you can talk about the sophisticated lying. And then the third part would be to talk about the messengers themselves. Those people who are the end result of this message-making machine. And I think it works better that way because the Heritage actually, their report is designed to be sent out, disseminated to conservative politicians who embrace their pro-industry, and in this case, climate denialist stance, and radio and talk show hosts as well. So that's their goal, is they need to get that, if you will, I hate to use the word intellectual because it's not, it's dishonest, but that intellectual backbone to climate denialists. They can say, according to a report I read recently. So get that as step two. I'm going to go through this once more. And then part three, after you get the message, talk about the messengers. So that's a different sequence. I think it's better cause and effect. So part one, again, all that money, whether it's what you read about last week, Donors Trust, etc., or what you read about 5 weeks ago. Combine that, all that money. You guys know a lot by now. That's one of the perks of sticking with the same subject. You develop a voice by the end. You really know what you're talking about. And then part two would be, I would recommend, it looks like the medieval warming period, if I'm not mistaken, is the one that most people wrote so well about. So you don't have to use all three of these. People didn't quite get, you can look in your discussion posts, the 97%. And taking the world's temperature, I think, was also a little bit problematic. A few more people got that, but most people did well with the medieval warming period. So use that as an example, is that, they have very sophisticated messengers who know how to twist the truth. And they get paid well. For example, the Heritage Foundation gets millions of dollars from ExxonMobil and the Koch industries. Look what they do with that money. And then examine what they did, for example, in the medieval warming period. And then part three is once that message is kind of nailed down and put into a palatable form, such as a Heritage Foundation article, no justification for extreme measures, then that goes out to the messengers. And then you can talk. Some of the messengers may use reports such as Luntz's, others might use CFACT, and others may use the Heritage lies. And that's the idea. If you want a good gimme on who uses the medieval warming period, when Trump in his video says it'll go back again, the temperature will go back again, he's basically using that same argument, is that what we're experiencing today is part of a longer cyclic change in temperatures, and what happened before will happen again. So he's kind of, well, look at that nice Pinocchio nose. He's actually singing from the Heritage Report, that it's just part of a longer cycle. Anyway, I hope that helps you. So the paper is due tomorrow. It's the 25th. You're welcome to send me any drafts or any questions you have. It's a three-part, so you get a thesis sense going that there's a lot of money, and it goes into getting the message right and also paying the messengers. So that's the sequence. Lots of money, get that message, and get those messengers. And why? Because at the end of the line there, you get the voters. You get the general public saying, what climate change? And then I had a final paragraph. I just want kind of a reflection on the class, is that after you've summarized this essay, the three parts, lots of money, deep messaging, and lots of messengers, just a brief reflection on what you've learned about massive fossil fuel industry funded disinformation campaign on climate change. I just want to get an idea of how this class has taught you something. Just a brief reflection at the end of your essay with specific references to things you've learned. And then you're done, okay? So, usual stuff, probably 6 pages, 7 pages, somewhere in there. Introduction, setting it up, who, what, where, when, and why. A thesis that controls your topic sentences, a summary conclusion of those three parts, and then a brief, paragraph-long reflection. Feel free to contact me about any questions you have. I'm also Skypeable over the next few days, so, glad to work with you. Some of you may need an extra day or two. Get everything in by Saturday, though, because I need to do 2 things. I need to get the grades in, and also I need to enjoy my summer break as well. So here to help you any way I can, and I hope this helps clarify the third essay.